I'm Hazel. It's Saturday today, which makes it time to sit down and catch up on the WoW news of the week, what I have been up to, and answer some of your questions. This week, the Midsummer Fire Festival officially began, and it has had some updates this year. There are 3 new cosmetic items for you to earn, another chance at all of the returning goodies, and a new approach to bad luck protection for holiday boss loot. So let's take a quick look at the new stuff first. This is the new holiday Drake armor for your Cliffside Wilder Drake. There is also a Fire Festival themed shield transmog and a Fire Festival themed back transmog. In the event announcement, Blizzard had this to say about how holiday boss loot is going to work. So they say they are changing the way the loot system for the holiday boss drops work. We have increased drop rate significantly for the first boss kill on a single account. Only the first attempt on a single Battle.net account will be eligible to receive the item drop. For each subsequent daily attempt on the boss with a single Battle.net account, the chance for the item to drop will increase and continues to accumulate for each failed attempt. This change will allow players to spend less time working to earn a specific dropped item, while providing an increasing opportunity to get that item during the holiday. If you take this post exactly as written, it's kind of wonky because this sentence, only the first attempt is eligible. You know, first attempt what, like per day, per year, ever? I'm gonna go out on a limb and presume that they don't mean annually or ever, and that there was a missing daily here. Maybe they thought that this daily applied to this sentence as well. So your first daily attempt on your account will be eligible to receive the item drop, and any other characters that you run on that day don't give you any extra chance, so there's no reason to spam a bunch of alts. So you just kill the boss once per day, and for every day that you do not receive something, the chance for you to get that item goes up in each subsequent day. So you have, assuming that you kill it every day, a rising chance to get it throughout the event. What we don't know is what the base drop rates are like, if they are different for different items, because, like, for example, the holiday boss might drop a bunch of stuff. You know, the Hallows End one had Arthas the dog pet, it also had the mount, etc. We don't know what the base drop rates are, and we don't know by how much they stack up. We don't know what the exact nitty-gritty numbers of the bad luck protection look like, and we are unlikely to find out. But in my opinion, it doesn't really matter, because what you need to do to get your best possible chance is both clear and easy. Kill the boss once per day, and hope for the best. You can argue that we are getting this quality of life boost at the expense of some prestige on those items, like maybe they're not as rare and interesting anymore if they are much easier to get. I'm cool with that. Anything that gets us out of doing like 30 characters a day is good with me, especially now that a lot of us have quite a few characters that we could have used because of Remix. On top of the new Drake armor, there's a couple other things that you might be farming for the daily Lord Ahun cache. The Frigid Frostling pet has a chance to drop, the Frost Scythe of Lord Ahun's staff, and also the Death Frost Weapon Enchant Illusion are all available from that daily Satchel of Chilled Goods. So if you want any of those things, make sure you queue for the holiday boss once per day per account, and then, you know, take a nap or something because you're free. As for the other 2 new items, you can visit bonfires. I recommend using an add-on like Candy Notes or Candy Buckets to mark them all on your map, fly around, hit a bunch of bonfires, get some burning blossoms, and then buy the items that you want off the vendor. I'm probably going to use separate characters to buy the shield and the back piece, just so that I can kind of hit up the same bonfires, you know, for the 350 blossoms, as opposed to having to try to scrape 700 on one character. I'm sure it's probably possible, but it seems easier to just use alts. And then other news from this week, we have learned from the beta that the pre-patch for the next expansion is going to launch sometime before July the 30th. Most likely, because there are some elements in beta indicating that the pre-patch event is going to begin on July 30th, which would imply that the pre-patch itself will hit at least on that date, if not earlier, most likely earlier. The pre-patch event itself is going to be pretty straightforward. They're spawning bosses in zones. You kill them, you get currency, you buy stuff. We'll cover that when it comes out. It'll be a chance to get your alts into some catch-up gear to kind of help them level in the next expansion. But yeah, sometime before July the 30th. It is all happening so fast. Speaking of pre-patch, we got our first set of pre-patch PTR development notes. Not too many surprises in here, although I do like this new accessibility feature for self-highlighting even outside of raids. You can choose to highlight your own character for extra visibility with a circle underneath it, with a glow, or even with an icon. You can use this to just keep a raid marker on yourself, even when you're on your own out in the world, to help you keep track of your own character. A few of these options were already available to use in raids, but this is the first time that we're able to actually employ them just out in the world on your own. And then the other piece of news this week came from a big dev interview that Ian and Morgan did with Wowhead. It's a good read, especially if you have interest in like Mythic Plus affixes and raid difficulties and that genre of things. My takeaway that I'm excited about from this is they talked about adding a warband-wide increasing power buff that you can earn to use inside the raid in the War Within. So even beyond kind of gearing up, maybe you're finished gearing up, but your raid is still stuck on a wall, you'll be able to continue getting stronger by earning this stacking power buff to kind of help raids progress past things without requiring direct dev nerfs to those encounters. I think that sounds great. It sounds like a nice way to kind of give hope to a raid team that is like finished gearing but still stuck before the end of their progression. You know, something else to look forward to help you past it without just having to cross your fingers and refresh the news headlines and hope for nerfs. And then as far as what I've been up to this week, I finally got everything from Remix that I'm going to. I cleaned out the vendors. I have everything off of the vendors. I don't think I'm going to make an effort to get all of the weapon transmogs. I got a handful of them while I was, playing Remix normally. I would really like to see those things either added to the vendors as arsenals, even if it was for a lot of bronze, or maybe for achievements or some like remixy way to earn them, as opposed to just having to like use different characters and like target specific types of content and hoping that weapon drops or like begging it off of other people in raid. The process for acquiring them just kind of felt counter to the spirit of Remix, and I can't be bothered. So I'm hoping that they add a better way to get those weapons, and if they don't, I'm just going to try to not worry about it and move on with my life. And then questions for this week. Zybe asks, has there been any news regarding changes to past expansion's personal loot situation in the open world specifically? With the coming collect all the mogs and any character changes, do we still have to have an army of alts to farm specific mogs, such as stuff dropping from Xerath Mord as rares? So I'll start by being disappointing and say that I have not heard anything and I don't know anything, so I don't have a hard answer for you. It is true that if they made a change like that, it would make it easier to sort of complete transmog collecting on one character, but it would also, on the flip side, make it harder to target specific pieces of loot from those like personal loot drop rares. Depending on how big the loot pool is and whether or not they would drop more loot after a change like that. If you put those rares on legacy loot, would they drop more pieces of items to compensate for that bigger pool? Or is it still just a chance at one item, but now instead of, one or two items that your class could loot, it's like 8. I think that in that world, if you were only missing like 1 or 2 things from a given mob, you could be looking at getting a lot of duplicate pieces before you complete your set. I don't know if that's better or worse. It probably depends on who you're talking to, but it's not a change that I have heard them planning to make at this time. And then MyHogs asks, in regards to the Remix bronze buff, I wonder if the buff will get bigger, which could mean leaving the bronze caches unopened until the buff gets bigger could be a good idea if you're just looking to buy stuff off the vendors. My question is, would this be a good idea, or do you think it will not work? So again, I'm awful. I don't know. It's all hypothetical and speculation. I feel like it's not likely to work because we don't know when the bronze amount in a cache is determined, or at least I don't know. There's every chance that even if they did increase that buff down the road, and that's something I think is more likely. I think that they could very well crank that Time Runner's Mastery buff to improve bronze gains even more in like the final weeks of the event. But whether or not it's worth it to like fill your bags in your bank with unopened bronze caches and wait for that, you could try. There's really no way to guarantee that it will or won't work until it hypothetically happens. Good luck to you if you decide to try it, but I'm not holding my breath for that one. And Clover asks, I am confused about Remix Transmog. Is what's on the vendors exactly what drops in the raids in Remix? Or is it only stuff that drops in retail and not Remix? Should I be buying Transmog sets or not? So unfortunately, it's kind of a confusing answer, but I'm going to do my best. Some things on the Remix vendors are Remix exclusive. You can only get them in Remix. Very much worth buying. Your Korkron Shaman sets, your Shadowpan sets, everything on the class vendor, all the class arsenals and the class ensembles, those are all exclusive colors at least to Remix. And that's the only way to get them. Now, when we're talking about the raid sets, it's true that you can farm those sets in retail, so you don't need to get them in Remix, but there is a catch there in that if you buy the set in Remix, you can use the entire set, every single piece of it, on any class of the same armor type, whereas in retail, some of those pieces are available as like class set lookalike pieces that you could use in any armor type, but not all of them. So like if you wanted to use an entire warlock set on a priest, You could farm the lookalike pieces in retail, but you wouldn't be able to get every single one. There's like little pieces, I think, that are missing. Whereas if you just buy it in Remix, you could then mog that set completely on any character with the same armor type. My recommendation, if it's at all possible, is to just clean out the vendors entirely. I used 2 add-ons to kind of help me track whether or not I needed more things. I guess 2 add-ons in a week aura. But Can I Mog It and all the things are great for just double and triple checking that you know everything from a vendor in Remix to make sure that you've bought everything that you might want. Bronze farming goes fast enough now that it doesn't feel unreasonable to clean out the vendors, especially with 2 months left on the event. So I took kind of a better safe than sorry approach. And that has been the week. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions for a news video, please pop them in the comments and include the word question to help me find them. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.